Hey guys, Templestory Ratsmah here, and I'm here with you with a draft video. I'm just gonna go and draft the deck, and then we're gonna talk about the strong points about it, the weak points of the deck, and things we wish we drafted, things we wish we didn't draft, and yeah, and we'll just go pick by pick, and we'll talk about these things. But yeah, here let's go with Warlock. All right, Implosion, pretty easy pick. Matter Bomber a little bit worse. If you watched my beginner draft video, then you would have learned that Matter Bomber is a little bit worse when you're playing a proactive deck. And since Warlocks tend to start with a really low curve with things like Flame Imps and what is that card called? Flame Imps, Voidwalkers, Peddlers, whatever, like sticky minions are generally what you get, and early game minions are generally what you get as Warlock. It is not uncommon for Warlock to get ahead early. So something like Matter Bomber more likely will ruin your game plan by hitting your own minions than it will like help you. The only case you want Matter Bomber in is if you're behind slightly, then you want Matter Bomber to catch up and then get you value and a little bit of tempo. So pretty easy Implosion pick. Here, I think we do have a serious decision between Voidwalker and Ogre Brute. What you tend to see is you see a lot of players, good players, kind of really value high quality early game cards. And the reason for this is the early game, once it's decided, and this is around turn 3, 4, 5, that person is in the lead. That person is already more likely to win. And it's up to the person who's not in the lead to kind of upset the board tempo and get back on board so they can start being the ones that dictate trades. And that's very important in Arena. So something like Ogre Brute, which is an oversized 3-drop, which potentially kills things like Spider Tanks for free, which is another good 3-drop. This is an easy way to get control of the board, and it's very important. Voidwalker, on the other hand, does have good demon synergies and whatnot, and the 1 mana 1/3 stat line is not bad. You see a lot of people run 1 mana 2/1s now, so it blocks those off. But here, I think because we want to lead early, and I personally like to draft my Warlock decks very proactively. I like to get small and mid-sized minions, and just keep pushing them out. And then when I'm out of cards, I just tap for my hero power. I love playing Warlock like that, and it's quite powerful. So here, I will go with Ogre Brute. I do think it's a very close call, but if we do pick up some Demon Synergy, we'll see if we can pick up a Void Caller in the future. Here, so with the way I play Warlock, and this is another benefit, things like discard don't generally discard too often because I draft much lower, and because I play out my hand really quickly. Things like Power Overwhelming are more likely to be active as well, since we'll more likely have the board, since we're playing out our hand really fast. So this is always more often active than just stuck in our hand with no minion to use it on. And so cards like Power Overwhelming, Soulfire, Doomguard go up in value quite a bit. So here, I'll go with the PO. Excellent card. Void Caller. These two, not very good cards. I'm not going to go over the easy ones. I wouldn't insult you guys like that. Origin Horse Rider versus Shadow Bolt. So we don't want the Hungry Dragon, and I think this card, there's a lot of debate over whether this card is good, bad, mediocre. And I'm going to tell you right now, my opinion, and it's not some middling opinion. I have the opinion that Hungry Dragon is terrible. The reason for this is generally what you're spawning is a 2/1 for your opponent. So it pretty much, imagine that 2/1 proactively goes into your 5/6 for no reason. Then it's a 4 mana 5/4, right? But very often it's worse than that because your opponents with that 1-drop, and because the early game is so important to have some kind of initiative, trade initiative, you're giving them a 1-drop to play something like Power Overwhelming, Cold Blood if you're a rogue, Seal of Champions or Blessing of Kings if you're a paladin, Mark of the Wild, whatever it may be, you're giving them that chance. Not only that, but if they remove Hungry Dragon, it's strictly worse than any 4-drop you could have played. Because imagine this is a Yeti, right? And your opponent's a mage, and they fireball it. Boom, they have a free 1-drop on the board. It is, in my opinion, a little bit one of the most overvalued 4-drops in the game. What I've noticed is people have started picking this less. I think when it first came out, people were like, "Oh my God, it's a 4 mana 5/6. It kills 4-drops for free, like it kills Yetis for free," which is true sometimes. But Generally, unless you're like Rogue works really well, pretty well with this card because you can kill the 1-drop with your weapon. You can set up those turns so you have that weapon ready for the turn you play Hungry Dragon. But generally, it's just not a very good card. So here, let's just go over these two picks. Shadow Bolt, pretty good damage for a 3-mana card. It trades evenly with things like Oka Brute and Spider Tank, and that helps us a lot, especially since they're the same mana cost. So it can be counted as a curve play, and that's very important as well. Here, I think you are okay with going either with Argent Horse Rider or Shadow Bolt, especially because it's early in the draft. It's hard to say which one is better, because Argent Horse Rider does get a little bit stronger with things like Dark Iron Dwarf or Beast Sergeant, any kind of buff, or like maybe even like a Cult Master, or some kind of synergy with having a lot of dudes, right? So it is a little bit difficult, and this gets a little bit better with like spell damage or whatever you may, a lack of early game, or like if you don't have hard removal off the board like Dark Bombs, then this is a little bit better. So here, I think go with either one. I'm gonna go with Argent Horse Rider. I love minions, and one of the big component of my strategy with Warlock is to make sure I have as little dead cards as possible. I want to be able to use my mana every single turn because mana is cards as Warlock. So if I miss a 3-drop because I have Shadow Bolt instead of Argent Horse Rider that I can just play on an empty board, even if I have nothing to trade into with Argent Horse Rider, I can still go face with it. You know, I can still play it. But with something like Shadow Bolt, maybe it causes us to skip turn 3. You know, we tap, we lose a mana because you can only tap for 2. It may create some problems, and once again, we're trying to play proactively, not reactively with spells, proactively with minions. So I do have a small preference here, but I think that was a close pick. Here, pretty easy pick for Dark Bomb. I'm not even going to go over these because those are bad. Yeti over Fearsome Doomguard. So generally, I said I do pick a draft pretty low. I try to stay away from things like Fearsome Doomguard. We do have Voidcaller though, and it is a pretty good reason to pick it. So if I do go with the Fearsome Doomguard, if we draft this deck in more of a Zooey aggro archetype, then Fearsome Doomguard is kind of a bad card if we don't get the synergy working very well. But because we already have the Voidcaller, I think it is okay to go for it, and it's a little bit more fun. It's a little bit more fun to try to get your class synergies going. Here's Stone Spinner Trog versus Zenoitron. Small taunts are awesome. So, and this is one reason why Voidcaller, which is the 1-mana 1/3, was a consideration in the earlier picks. Small taunts win games. People generally don't want to use removal, and if they do, then it's not a big difference between it being a 2-mana 2/3 or 3/2. In the late game, small taunts are better. Questionably better. I think in most situations you'll find that like a Voidwalker would be better than like a Fairy Dragon in the late game. So if you top deck it in the late game, you're still dictating trades. It protects your face. You might actually save yourself from dying if you play that taunt. So it's like an early game card that has an impact in the late game, which is important. So here I will take the Neutron. The only reason I would take Stone Spirit Trog is if we have a lot of snowbally cards, things like Dark Irons or things like Shattered Sun, things that need us to have trade initiative with like a bigger body for the early game. But since we don't have that yet, I'll take the Neutron. And the deck is it's starting to look more like a control deck, to be honest. We have two removal spells. Power Overwhelming is more of a tempo card. It is also removal, but you sack a guy, but you're trading up generally with Power Overwhelming. But we have 2 removal cards, and these kind of indicate, plus the Fearsome Doomguard, which these all indicate to me that this deck would probably be better in a control archetype. Whereas if we pick the Yeti, then maybe it would be a little bit more towards like an aggro type, but we'll see. We'll keep drafting and see if the archetype becomes a little bit more clear, and then we'll maximize on that archetype once we get a little bit deeper into the draft. So here, Doomguard versus Sludge Belcher, both excellent cards. Even Mistress of Pain is not that bad, but it can't really compete with these two. Here, I will push for the Demon Synergy again. I do draft very low as Warlock, so Doomguard, very often if you watch my stream, you'll see that I play Doomguard for like free. No cards wasted or discarded. So I'll go with the Doomguard. Here, Second Implosion. Not going to talk about these two. I think most of us know that those two are kind of bad. Dread Infernal versus Floating Watcher. Floating Watcher a little bit too slow. This card was really popular when it first came out, and everyone was testing it out. And I think the general consensus during that time was that it was a pretty good card. But if you compare it to like Valdir, it's a little bit better than Valdir since you can do damage to your own face, but it's too slow in Arena. And the meta is so fast that if you play like a 5-mana 4/4, and this is why Nubisat, the 5-mana 4/4 Death Rattle +3/+3 to a random minion, that's why that card has some trouble being picked, because it's too slow. And if you're ever behind and you play Floating Watcher on 5, you'll probably just lose the game. So here, I'll take Dread Infernal. You can use the Battle Cry beneficially, and it's a great card. It's a great card. And now, we actually have a lot of good demon synergy going. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Our most expensive cards are demons. I think at this point where we have 3 big demons to push out, we want to take like almost every single Void Caller that we get. And yeah, we'll keep our eyes peeled for that. Haunted Creeper, great. So Power Overwhelming is a really strong tempo card. The only problem, and this is the only problem with Power Overwhelming, is having a target to use it on. So having something like Harvest Golem or Haunted Creeper or having a really early curve with a lot of 1-drops helps a lot. And this will be tempo for us at some point in the game. So Haunted Creeper, great. Clockwork Gnome, Flame and Tomb Spider. So I don't really like card draw cards in Warlock. It seems unnecessary with your hero power being a card draw mechanism itself. So I think we'll leave the card drawing to our hero power and try to pick up more tempo cards, because that's one thing you can't do. You can always convert tempo into card advantage, but you don't have a way to convert card advantage back into tempo unless you get those specific cards. And Flame Imp is a good choice here. I don't think Clockwork Gnome is that much worse, to be honest, but I'm going to go with Flame Imp. I'm not going to get too greedy or too picky here. Huge Toad versus Wrathguard, even versus Sack Pack. I think because this deck does play a little bit slower, and one thing about Warlocks that's pretty awesome is that even though you may draft and try to like specialize into a single archetype to make your deck a little bit stronger in that way by, you know, focusing on that archetype, the Warlock class is very good, especially if you draft fast like me, and this is another reason why I like to draft really low curve Warlock decks, is you can have a very aggressive Warlock deck with a low curve, but it's still you could still change your style to control, and that is because of your hero power. Your hero power keeps giving you more ammunition, and you can keep filling up that board, and it just allows you to play it in a very versatile way. So yeah, I think Sack Pack is okay. We have 2 implosions. If we ever meet another Warlock in the arena, they're gonna be really sad when we sack pack their Imp Gang boss or the Dread Infernal. But I think we just want to fill up our early game curve. I do pick sack pack a lot on stream. It's usually for fun, and honestly, it's not that bad. It's honestly not that bad, especially with this kind of like demon synergy. Huge Toad. Could take a Huge Toad. I'm gonna watch out for our health a little bit, and there's not too big of a difference. This is kind of like a 4/2 with the Death Rattle, a little bit worse than Wrathguard, but it does heal us a bit by not taking hits to our face. I think it's fine. Capture Jormonger versus Bloodsail versus Blackwing Tech. We currently have 0 dragons. I don't want another big dude. I think our deck is heavy, has enough like clunky heavy guys. Like generally you don't want too many 7 or 8s or 9s because they're hard to combo out with the rest of your curve. But if you have a lot of 6s, it's a little bit more fine. If you have a lot of 5s, it's a little bit more fine. You just want to be able to do multiple things with the turn. So things like Capture Jormonger are not so good with our given curve so far. So here I want to go with one of these two. It looks like we need 3s, but this is not a very high static 3-drop, so maybe we want to just take another 2-drop, so in the future we can take a better 3-drop. And yeah, that's looks like what's going to happen. We have 3 2-drops, 2 3-drops. I will take the 2-drop that's almost as good as the 3-drop. Here, Fleshing Ghoul versus Jungle Panther. And with things that snowball, I always keep my eye open. Like if I have Fleshing Ghoul, a Perspective Fleshing Ghoul is much better if you have a lot of weapons or you have a lot of ways to protect it. So for example, in this deck, how can we protect Fleshing Ghoul? We have Dark Bomb for the early game, we have Double Implosion for the early game. I'd say we provide like decent protection for it, but probably not enough. it's not like super obvious that we can leave it protected, or we'll control the game that early for this to be protected by our earlier turns minions. So here I'll just go with the Jungle Panther. I think it's a nice safe pick here. Mortal Coil over these two, pretty easy pick. I think I don't really need to get into this one. Sunwalker is also an easy pick, but Fist of Jaraxxus, you know, we do have that synergy with Doomguard. It's super fun to play, but since this is more of a serious video, I'm gonna take the Sunwalker, one of the best cards in the game. Probably, if there was like an award show for arena cards, and if we looked at all the single patches and all the updates and like all the different seasons, if you want to call them, like eras of Arena, Sunwalker would probably be #1. Sunwalker has been good from the start of the game in Classic to now. But yeah, Sunwalker definitely an amazing card. We'll take that. Bloodsail Raider. Over these two, once again, we don't want card draw cards in Warlock. It's not necessary. This is like borrowing a Paladin's hero power, and since we're drafting in a way that kind of, you know, our Warlock hero power is really important, we don't want to trade hero powers with the Paladin. So take the Bloodsail. Voodoo Doctor not that bad, but Bloodsail's much better. Just to fill up our curve and be good. Bloodsail. Argent Commander versus Wild Pyro. We do kind of have synergy with Wild Pyro. We have 1 PO, 1 Mortal Coil, 1 Dark Bomb. I don't know if I call this synergy. I don't think I call this synergy, but yeah, we won't look at these. But I think here we want to go with another Doom card, or maybe even Argent Commander if we feel like this deck isn't light enough. And at this point where I have 2 Doom cards, I'm thinking, oh my god, now I just want to empty out my hand. So I'm just going to draft even lower than I normally would. So we can go that route. I think it's a little bit more exciting. Yeah, let's go for that. Argent Commander, not a bad pick, maybe even better than Doomguard, but once again, I'll just tell you that Argent Commander may be better, but I'm gonna draft this in a fun way that I want to play, which is to draft a much lower curve deck, and if we can do that, that'd be excellent. So these two are out of the question. Take a huge Toad here. High quality early game is what we're looking for. Here, Frostwolf has some great synergy with Implosion, and we're going to be a little bit bloody with this deck since you have an early curve. Looks like we may, more likely than not, control the board in the early game, and that's another thing you should look at when you're drafting, is what position will you be in usually. Like generally, if you pick this card, what position will you be in? If you pick this card, what position will you be in? On the turn, you're going to play those cards, and which card would be better. This one takes a little bit more experience, so like for me, let's see. Like I played, there's a lot of arenas, 12,000 something, but this isn't even all I played. I have multiple accounts, and probably my total wins is at like 16,000, maybe nearing 17,000. Watched a lot of games, watched a lot of arena players play, and coached a lot of people. So you know, with that experience, I can kind of like see in my mind's eye like where we'll be in that game, given our current draft so far, and what the next 9 cards maybe, and we can kind of like hopefully see which one would be better. And that's just experience. You just want to, you know, keep playing and you'll get a little bit better at it as well. So here we have 3, 4, 5, 6 2 drops, 1, 2, 3 3 drops, 2, 3 plays on 4, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. And honestly, this is enough late game. I don't think we need any more. And once again, we want to empty out our hand for Doom card. So 6 2 drops, 3 3 drops. I think we want you know, maybe a couple of 1s and maybe a couple of strong 4s. And I would say that if we do draft that way on purpose, maybe Frostwolf could be better. But also there's something to say about making a more defensive play. Currently we have 2 taunts. We have the Sunwalker and the Anoitron. And since we really want to protect face in the end game, so we can tap for more cards, maybe Fem Creeper is okay too. But I think given the current synergies with Frostwolf and like the very obvious synergy with the sticky Void Caller, that's going to be hard for them to remove without, you know, they'll probably just ignore it because they're scared of a demon coming out. And the Implosions, I think we should go with Frostwolf here. But it is very, very close between these two. So you don't want to look at just the tier list. If you look at a tier list, they'll tell you to take Frostwolf. I think tier lists are a little bit hard on Fen Creeper. I think it's much better than people think. But I will take the Frostwolf. Here, Ogre Brute, once again, it's a good tempo card for the early game. It allows us, gives us a chance at overthrowing the board. I think that's a good word, overthrowing the board and for us to lead. So I'll give us a chance, another chance by picking another one up. Here, Dark Peddler, top tier. Before this card even came out, a lot of people said it was going to be good. I said it was going to be one of the best cards in the game. And here, now we know. It is actually like one of the best cards in the game. Kind of broken, actually. Just a versatile card. Plus, we kind of want to flood. And if you think about Dark Peddler's 1-cost card, and this is what I talked about with the Shadow Bolt and the Argent Horse Rider. On turn 3, if you miss 1 mana, that's half a card that you're throwing away. Since half a mana, or missing 1 mana is half your hero power, so it's like half a card. And so Warlock, what that means is Warlock runs on efficiency, on how efficiently you use your mana. So if you pick something like Dark Peddler and just have a 1-drop ready, and let's say that you have 2 2-drops, you have Bloodsail and Dark Peddler, no 3-drop in your hand, you can play this on turn 3 and then play the 1-cost card, or you play the Peddler on 2 and try to set up something that you would want to play with Bloodsail Raider on turn 3. There's just so many different ways to play this card, and because it has a very cheap card associated with it, you are more likely to use up your mana efficiently, which is extremely important. So just wanted to praise my friend Dark Peddler here. So I'm really burpy today. Dark Scale Healer versus Refreshing Vendor. I think this card is fine. We're not really running like an aggro face deck. This is, once again, Warlocks can always kind of shift to more a control mindset at any point in the game, at most points of the game. So getting some more heals could be big. And it looks like we actually don't have any heals so far. So yeah, I'll go with the Refreshing Vendor. 4 mana 3/5 stat line is fine. We don't really want any more 5s. We have a lot of 5s, and plus it's one of the cheaper cards in the pack. Bloodfen Raptor, I think is fine here. We have 2 2/3s, 2 3/2s, and I always look at this with my 2-drops. I like to have a nice mix, because if you have a nice mix, you have a lot more choices and options, and you can make better plays out of those options. But it looks like we're kind of even. If we had like all 3 2s, I probably wouldn't take this. I'd probably go with the Terror Attending. Like if these 2 Bloodsail Raiders were Bloodfen Raptors, I would definitely go here. But we have a nice enough mix, so I'll take the Bloodfen. Amani, another 2 mana 2/3, not bad. We'll take it here. The other 2 are kind of bad. Never pick Curse of Raphon. It's one of the worst cards in the game. Here's Silent Knight. Once again, we don't really need card draw. I think I would rather have ways to convert cards into tempo, once again, not tempo into cards, because that's what this is. This is an understated 4-drop, meaning that you lose tempo, and then you're getting card advantages by drawing with it, but that's not necessary as Warlock. Here, how many mechs do we have? One, not quite enough. Then I'm just going to go with Silent Knight. Void Caller, and we talked about picking it like every Void Caller because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yep, 5, yeah, 5, 6 demons. Wow, almost missed that small guy. So we'll take it here. As the last pick, my god, this deck is so good. Yeah, we'll take the Bomb Lottery. We have a lot of 2s. I think we ended with 8, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We ended up with 9 2-drops. That's insane. But once again, that is what you want, is a really low curve. And let's pick this for now. But that's what you want. We have 1 drop, 9 2-drops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3-drops, 2, 3, 4, 5 plays on 4, which is damn near perfect. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 late game cards. My god, this deck is so good. So good. The synergies are great with Void Callers, and even without those synergies, like this deck alone, just because of curve and it resembles Zoolock, constructed Zoolock a lot. And this deck, I would say, could probably somewhat easily hit Legend as well on the ladder if we were to put it on the ladder. It's a great deck. It's a great deck. So yeah, my first. I mean, let's go with predictions. I'm gonna predict this deck goes 12, to be honest. My Warlock runs have been very good recently. They've always, like, historically been... Warlock has always historically been one of my better classes. But yeah, this deck is a 12 winner. And I would say like the weakness of this deck, bad draws. Could bad draws be a weakness? Yeah, I mean, Warlock is always kind of, you know, if you end up tapping a little bit too much in the early game because you get a draw into your early game, um, it does cause a lot of problems since you're actually hurting yourself. And then you have like an immobilized hero power in the end game since you're gonna be taking a lot of face damage while you're behind on tempo. You're taking a lot of face damage, so your hero power becomes useless when you finally do get the board. So that's always a risk, but we do have 9/2 drops. I'm not too worried about it. What is your weakness, deck? We'll figure it out. Give me a second here. No clear weakness. Okay, no clear weakness, but maybe we talk about like favorable matchups and weak matchups. I would say that like our best matchup would be like any bad class that doesn't have ways to grab the board back very well. Things like Priest, Warrior, Shaman, obviously, but that's a little bit unfair to those classes because they're just generally weak. But if we were to put it up against like the Mage, Rogue, Paladin test, I would say that, you know, Mage would probably be somewhat easy. We have so much ammunition and things to throw into Flame Strikes and things that don't even die to Flame Strikes, and Mages are very slow in the beginning of the game that will probably control the board. Mages should be extremely easy. Rogues always kind of give Warlock problems because, once again, without tempo, it's hard to use things like Power Overwhelming, and you tend to draft things like Shattered Sun, Dark Iron Dwarf, any kind of buff, a lot more often in Warlock. So Rogues having very cheap removal like Eviscerate and Backstab may actually upset that kind of game plan. But our deck isn't really drafted in that way where we have a lot of buff ups. We only have one. So I don't think they're that big of a problem. I'd say Rogues were like not necessarily happy or sad to meet in the arena with this deck. I'd say it's pretty fair. Paladins will generally be okay as well. We have like Dread Infernal, which is very good in that matchup by taking out all the dudes with the 1 damage battle cry. Haunted Creeper, which is hard to trade. Anything that's hard to trade against is very good against Paladin, like Haunted Creeper. They can't really trade against Arcane Horse Rider. Jungle Panther is stealth. This is stealth. Void Caller is, you know, pretty much a Death Rattle minion. Yeah, this deck is so good. I was gonna add a bunch of stuff at the end of the video where I just talk about like how you should play, and like what your good matchups are and like what you should watch out for, just so you kind of see how I analyze the deck. But it just looks like an easy 12 win. I guess how you should play. We talked about this while drafting. I want to get rid of that shine, but I guess how you should play is you should plan to not tap for like until like turn 6-7. Generally, you just want, if you have a good curve, like a good opening hand, then try to keep that and then just play out every turn. Do not tap in the early game, because once you do tap, that's when you get like Doomguard stuck with cards in your hand, or like double Doomguard in your hand, problems like that. And if you don't tap, it's more likely for you to get Doomguard for free, maybe on a late game turn, just play it out without discarding cards. But you do have very decent comeback mechanisms with like Dark Bomb, Power Overwhelming, Mortal Coil, Double Implosion, Sunwalker, Doomguards, Bomb Lobber. Like there's a lot of ways to just come back with this deck, and that's why it's just a little bit difficult to give you any tips. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully next time we get a really bad deck. That way we can actually, you know, dig a little bit deeper and try to find like a working strategy with a bad deck. But that's the video for this week. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want to check out my stream, that's where I am every day at 11 p.m. PST and 5 p.m. CET. You can find me at twitch.tv/Ratsmah, and hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.